Good morning from Moscow. It's Friday the 19th of June, the day after the mass Ukrainian drone strike on the Moscow region. 200 drones, which damaged the Moscow oil refinery, 2 shopping centres, several buildings, flats and cars. Today's Russian papers concede that this was a record, unprecedented attack. And it's clear from reading the papers that the main message, the principal message, that the Russian authorities want to convey to the Russian public is, okay, this wasn't great for us, but Ukraine has more to worry about than Russia. The phrasing is very similar in different papers. So, for example, in Moskovsky Komsomolets, a military pundit says, our strikes to demilitarize Ukraine are way more powerful and effective than Ukrainian attacks, even large-scale ones. The government paper, Rossiyskaya Gazeta, our attacks on defence enterprises working for the Ukrainian army are by a wide margin more powerful than what Russians unfortunately have to deal with. And similar messaging in Komsomolskaya Pravda. Our attacks cause much more damage to Ukraine than it does to us. The same in Kommersant. Our strikes on corresponding Ukrainian infrastructure linked to the military-industrial complex are far more effective, systematic, and produce more results. Moskovsky Komsomolets claims that ahead of parliamentary elections in Russia this autumn, the Zelensky regime wants to destabilize the domestic political situation in Russia. And it has this warning for Ukraine and for Europe. The theory that you can achieve the desired result from Putin by publicly driving him into a corner seems to me not only wrong, but very dangerous. From Moscow's perspective, what level of escalation is considered permissible and controllable, and what isn't? Zelensky has suggested that the attacks on the Russian capital we're seeing now are merely the prelude, the blossoms, and that the real fruit will appear closer to autumn. If this is not idle chatter, then the question arises, at some point, will these made-in-Europe berries become the critical mass that will force the Russian leadership to conclude that the very foundations of Russian national security are under threat? Pressure on one of the main nuclear powers on the planet cannot be increased indefinitely. Sooner or later, the spring will definitely spring back. Now, it was Russia that launched a mass invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Russia's war on Ukraine is now in its 5th year. But Moscow continues to portray itself as the victim and to claim that the aggressor is Ukraine, Europe, NATO, the West. Komsomolskaya Pravda claims that Russia doesn't need war in Europe, Europe does. And for that end, claims the paper, Russia's enemies are trying to exhaust Russia as much as possible in Ukraine, so that we're out of breath for the big confrontation with Europe. Still, the Russian government paper is full of praise for England, the English football team that is, for its World Cup performance against Croatia. It says England was brilliantly attacking and played beautifully and free-flowing. Finally, from the joke section of Komsomolskaya Pravda, a teacher has sent a note home to the parents of a pupil. It reads, your little Vovochka took a bottle of vodka with him on a school trip. Thanks very much.